We're looking at our calling. Ephesians chapter 4. Let's start reading from verse 8. Wherefore he said, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. He led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Where are you? I read verse 8. All right. Now, first of all, our calling, first, you must understand that our calling is according to the will of God, not the will of man. Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, by the will of God. Ephesians 1 verse 1. It's not man that called him, it's God that called him. So if there should be a calling, it should be by the will of God. Men born not according to the will of the flesh, no, according to the will of any man. That is John chapter 1 verse 13. Not according to the will of the flesh, nor the will of any man. So if there should be any dealing concerning calling, God must be involved. The Bible says he led captivity captive and gave gift to men. It was him that led captivity. It was him that gave gifts. Somebody say here. In Luke chapter 4, verse 17, he said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. The Lord has anointed me. Verse 18 rather. Verse 18. He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and the Lord has anointed me. So it was God that was involved in his calling. Somebody say here. So if there should be a genuine calling, the calling should be from God. The calling should be from God. The calling should be from God. And that's why every called man is a servant of God. Romans chapter 1 verse 1. Every called man is a servant of God. Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ. Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ. So number one, that if I have a calling, it must be according to the will of God. Now give me verse 9, 10, 11, and 12 of Ephesians chapter 4. 9, 10, 11, and 12. Are we following now? Come on, am I communicating in this study? Am I communicating? He said, now that he ascended, what is it that? What is it? But that he also descended first into the lower part of the earth. Why? He descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. There are empty vacancies on earth. Hello? I'm not sure I'm talking to a church. There are empty vacancies on earth, and he needed to fill it. What was the empty vacancy? When he led captivity captive, it means men were in captivity. What actually Adam lost was our freedom. I thought I'm talking to someone. What he lost was not apple. He lost our freedom. And all of us became prey. in the hand of, is a lawful captivity. You break the law, so you are in captive because it was a lawful one. Are you hearing me? So the book of Ephesians was not actually talking about binding and loosing and blah, blah, blah that we do every day. It's actually talking about what happened. Our certificate of freedom was actually handed over to the devil lawfully. The Bible says, he that breaketh the edge, the serpent shall bite. So there is a repercussion to every action. So we became a victim of an action that was done by Adam. There was no cajoling. There was no gun placed on his head. He willingly handed us over. And so there was a vacancy that was created in the heavenly callings. Somebody say here. Since that day, a vacancy was created. There was no man called. Ayata Maliga Rute Karabadaya. Check through the scriptures, there are no apostles. There are no pastors. There are no teachers. There were no prophets. The only thing, there were no evangelists. The only thing is that the Spirit comes on man and man functions for a season. And some now bear it as a calling by the reason of the law. Either you are born into priesthood, or God selects you and pour his Spirit on you when you have no connection with priesthood. Somebody like Samuel. He has no connection with priesthood. He wasn't a Levite. He wasn't from the tribe of Levi. There was a need, so God raised a prophet. But there are vacancy. Vacancy is different from a need. A need is a seasonal thing, but vacancies are permanent. So there was a vacancy so that he can fill all things. Things were not complete because callings were not established. Ayatama. Are you enjoying this at all? Fields were empty. Things were not complete. Why? Because there was no calling. Somebody like Moses was born in the lineage of Levites, but he was selected to be a prophet. That's why when Aaron contended with his place in Numbers chapter 12, God had to rebuke Aaron. He said, if you were a prophet, I would have spoken to you mouth to mouth. He said, you are just a Levite. You are not a prophet. Are you following me? Yes, sir. Prophets are called. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Levites occupied it by their tribe. Where they came from. It was their inheritance. But prophets are called. They're not inherited. Are you hearing me? Just because I gave birth to Duke does not mean he inherits me as a prophet. No. No. He has to be called. If he's not called, let him go and do his engineering and practice one of the oil company and make money. If he dare it because he feels his father is the head pastor and so he had right to re-sit on the throne of his father, he's making mistake. It's a calling. Oh Shana Makata Lekaru Sekete Bradaya. So there are vacancies that were empty. There are vacancies that need to be filled. And so he descended to the lower part so that he can let captivity captive. That was his intention. You know, when you came, you reap men of their placement. So I've come so that I can free them. And that was not enough. He said that so that he can fill all things. So if he has led us free, and we're just living in liberty, and he did not call us, something would have gone wrong. There is need for vacancies to be occupied. And that's why he called us to fill vacancies on earth. What a mighty God we serve. Alamashanda lakatoria zete. So I'm not ordinary. I wasn't only led in captivity. No wonder he said the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and the Lord has anointed. It's a God factor. It's not a man factor. If there is a calling, it's a God factor. It's not a man factor. So if any man say, man, call me, something is wrong. You can only serve the one that called you. You might be under this authority, but you are not called by this authority. You are called by God to function in the office of servanthood, serving the man of God. Praise God. Why didn't Elijah go back to Tishbite? It was Elisha the Tishbite, coming from Tish. Why didn't he go back to Tish and anoint his junior brother in his place? But God sent him to Elisha, not his junior brother. Why? Because it's a calling, and it's God that is involved. And God told Elijah, go and anoint Elisha in your place. It was specific. It was specific. It was direct. There was no confusion. If there must be an office to occupy, then God must be involved. There is no assumption to the place of calling. No assumption. That's why anyone that has the privilege to enjoy the oil, you should know it's the business of God. It's not the business of man. Somebody say here. So that you can't treat it carelessly. The oil can kill you, and the oil can make you alive. Can kill you. Because it's a matter of God. It's the matters that deal with God. It's not the matters that deal with man. I was very, very weak yesterday. Very weak. And a demand was placed on the oil. And I was called by one of my sons in ministry. Sit down. And he said, Daddy, you promised me that you are coming to our church so that you can pray for the place. I wanted to go with an entourage. And I asked myself, what do they need? The entourage, or they need me? So I went myself. I was very weak. So I said, get me oil. He got me oil. I wanted to do the normal religious thing that we do. Is it not oil? Pour it on the man of God, pour it on his church, and make declaration. Until I was reminded, you are called in this office. So use your office. So it's not how you feel in your body. It's your office. Are you hearing me? You see, if a CEO wears short knicker, it doesn't make him less than a CEO. I'm not sure you heard me. It doesn't make him less than the owner of the company. He's the CEO. He's the owner of the company. He functions in his office, not in his status. Somebody say here. So I was reminded that I was called for this office. I need to represent my office, not what I feel. I am Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, called to function. Called by the will of God, not by the will of man. So I am an apostle. Whether I'm wearing short knicker, I am an apostle. Whether I'm wearing t-shirt, I am an apostle. Whether I'm wearing jean, I am an apostle. I am called for this office. It's not the regalia. And it's not how I feel about it. It's the calling that has come on me. Somebody say here. So that's why a drunken prophet stood up and pointed as Ham. He said, you have done harm to your destiny. Ham, you have done harm to your destiny. He cursed him, and he was cursed. A drunken apostle is called in this office. Leave judgment to God between him and God. But for the office, he's called for it. So be careful how you speak carelessness on man that is called. That's why David said, even though Saul was a circumstantial officer, but there is oil on his head. Even though by prophecy he has no business with this office, but if God has placed oil on him, that oil can kill me. Even though I am the original owner that bears the oil, but because God said pour it on him, be careful with him. Am I sure I'm talking to church? No. That's why you shouldn't insult any pastor. Don't ever. Whomever he is. Except if he's not genuine. Except if he's not of God. Except if the oil is palm oil. Except if the oil is palm oil. Bought from Umodi. Are you here? You know, there are pastors and there are pastors. Yeah. Circumstantial callings. There is no job. I perceive God is calling me. I'm not sure I'm not sure you heard me. He has gone round, didn't get a job, and so he resolved that I perceive God is calling me. That's why I couldn't get a job. He's the one perceiving. Only him. Only him that is perceiving the calling. And suddenly he organized an ordination for himself. Are you hearing me? My God. See, there are people. He went into business shut down, just because he did not understand business laws. And he fell in business. The next place of retirement is ministry. So he retired into ministry. He retired into ministry. As if that is not enough. He discovered that nobody can hear him. So he think going to Bible school, one theological Bible school or one Bible school, is what makes the calling. It's not what establishes the calling. Yes, friends, should I tell you the truth? No human being has ordained me yet. Sit down. You are not aware. You are hearing it for the first time, I think. Sit down. No mortal human being has ordained me. I say it again. No mortal human being has ordained me. The pastor I serve promised me ordination till today. Called me out and said, Pastor Silas, I ordain you to be a pastor. Nobody. But am I less than one? Am I less than one? You are pastor on training, is that? You are pastor on training. Whether I organize ordination for you or I did not organize ordination does not deny the fact that the hand of God is upon you. You need mortal men to establish it. But if the mortal men get overjealous and decide not to establish it, what do you do with yourself? I went there, submitted myself, and I could see that I am in competition with my father, even though I was not. And he decided not to give me ordination. So I decided not to bother my head. He said, by the will of God, I am Paul, the servant of Jesus Christ. Called by the will of God, not by the will of man. So whether you pour oil, you don't pour oil, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And I'm not less than an apostle. Anywhere I am not. They have called me, I will want to give you Reverend Doctor. I said, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. They've come here, they say, okay, if you can pay 50,000, we will come and give you ordination. See, they are looking for 50,000 to buy ordination. There is a 50,000 registration, then you pay 250,000 for the cassock and sock. I said, I don't need it. That's why I can say to the blind, be open on my gene. We went for a program. I think that day I wore a casual cloth that night. We had 3 recorded partial blindness open. 3. One eye, 3. I was wearing my black shirt and my white, I think, pants. Okay, tell them trousers so that they don't think I wear pants. That's what the Americans call it. Call it trouser for them. Are you hearing me? And never you think of me less. Never. Never. KICC, Pastor Matthew Shumolo, he said, no man told him that he was called. No man. He said, no man. No man ever told him that he was called. He knew. And how did he know? He was a gate man in the church. Just finished secondary school and got to Lagos in the 70s and gave his life to Christ in Foursquare Bible Church and was a gate man. And the father-in-law looked at him and said, boy, you are too intelligent. Let me send you to Foursquare Bible School. They sent him. When they sent him, he now discovered he was called. Finished Bible school and gave him his daughter. That he was a senior pastor then. Gave him his daughter to marry and sent him to London to start the London church a few years later. And that was it. 1992, he felt it's time to start KICC. And he gave birth to KICC. And today, he's a global man preaching the gospel. You don't need the affirmation of men when it comes to calling. Men should either confirm your fears. Are you hearing me? But not to confuse you. A young man came here one day and said, Pastor, everything I touch is not working. It's like God is calling me. I say he doesn't call you by making nothing to work. Then how can ministry work if everything didn't work in your hand? He said, when you called me, I was under the oak tree, keeping my father's sheep. Listen, it does not call people that are idle. It doesn't occupy you because you lack job. It doesn't call people that are failures. No, He called you to intercept your life. If it's a genuine calling, he called you to intercept your journey. He intercepts your life. He doesn't call idle people. She was on her way to fetching water. He met her in the field. He said, Mary, you are highly favored. He intercepted her journey and gave her a calling. Paul was on his way to go and kill believers. He intercepted his journey and gave him calling. How is it that you are lazing around and suddenly you are called? How is it that your own is that you are a failure? Suddenly is a calling. Check it. It's either you are doing wrong business, so change business. That's why you are not doing well. Instead of turning it to calling. God said to you, go and sell plank. Just because you love pure water, you went to be selling pure water. How can you have the language of selling plank for pure water? Doesn't work. You have been telling people buy nail. You didn't know. And you are thinking that you are calling water. Buy nail. You say buy pure water. They are hearing buy nail because you are supposed to be selling nail. and zinc and wood. Sit down. Okatala Mashanda. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Never ordain anybody because of joblessness. Never. Never. Graduated from school, no job. And say, come on. Be like, say, since you don't get job, come up, we give you job for church. That's the reason why they will mess up the church. See, our calling is not a job. So we don't earn it as a job. Shall I talk to you again? Our calling is not a job. So we don't earn it as a job. That is, you don't go applying. You say, we have a vacancy. We have a vacancy for pastors. So please, any one of you can apply. So you know, say, I read geology. Since there are no mining to geologize, can I turn it to theology? And they say they take you through training. No, you don't train to be called. You are called before you are trained. You don't train to be called. You are called, then you are trained. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Very soon we are resuming our Bible school. No, our aim is not to raise pastors. It's not the Bible school that produce the pastors. It's their calling that make them pastors. So there is vacancy on the earth. And God is calling people to occupy it. Give me the book of Ephesians. Let me wrap up that particular chapter, verse 1. Ephesians chapter 4. We stopped at 9. Is it 10 now we stopped? Okay, give me 11. Give me 11. You change your color? Did you change your color? Okay. All right. And he gave some apostles. Okay, I think link it with verse 10 and that would be better. Verse 10. He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And how did he fill it? These are the offices. All. And he gave some. Who gave? Who gave? Who gave? Who gave? I am not the one making you apostle. No matter the granite oil I pour on your head, whether it's 25 liters, it does not make you an apostle. He is the one that gave you. Then I only confirm it by ordination. But I remember when we were graduating from one of the Bible schools I went, that is Letao, and they said, if you are interested in ordination, write your name down. So we wrote our name. So that day, they said we should buy our oil. So we bought our oil, came with our oil, say, open it. The man of God spoke. Say, pour it on your head. We pour it on our head. He said, by this oil, you are ordained. So we are ordained. Cry, Allah. You see, if you understand spiritual things, you will not allow any man to put you under pressure. Accept it, oh. Accept it, oh. God is calling you. If not so, God will kill you. Shut up. He's the man that is forcing you to accept what you don't know. God can never call you into what you are not aware. That's why if you are separating a man to pour oil on him, there is need for you to confirm from him whether he understands the office you are putting oil on him for. If he did not accept it, Don't risk it. For instance, stand up. I saw a calling on him, so I took him through the preparation journey. But before then, I asked him, are you aware that there is oil on your head? And he affirmed to me that he's aware. Is that not what happened? He affirmed to me. If he told me that he's not aware, I would have told him to sit down until the day you become aware. So I am not the one introducing him into pastorship. No. As much as he's serving under me, does not mean I'm the one that should introduce him. God should be able to introduce his will in him. He made them pastors to serve other pastors. Doesn't mean that every pastor has an independent calling. That's a different thing too. That's what we call dependent calling, and that's what we call independent calling. Are you hearing me? That's why I can have a prophet, I can have an apostle, I can have a teacher, I can have an evangelist. But it does not necessarily mean that they should go and wag their signboard. There are men that are called to be servants of men. Joshua chapter 1, let me establish that truth for you. Sit down. Joshua chapter 1 verse 1. They are called to be servants of men. And until God speak otherwise, they are not permitted to do anything. Anything they do, God will kill them. Because they violated his calling. It's either he leaves them, they keep doing it and keep failing. Or, see, there are many churches that need to close down and go and look for where they are sent to go and serve. How can you be doing ministry? Say you are doing church. Say God call you to open church. 7 years, you are pastoring only your wife and your 4 children. And 2 other people. Those people, you have frustrated their destiny enough. Let them go. Tell them, go and find your pastor. Why I go and find my own? 7 years, you are pastoring 20 people. Close the church. God didn't call you. Say, no, we are looking forward to our breakthrough. 7 years. The same faces. No, now. You are frustrating the life of those people. God didn't call you. Go and look for your own calling. God maybe call you to go and just be printing handbills for winners. So go and look for the office and start printing. Maybe God sent you to go to one Christ embassy just to be trafficking people into church. There are people that have called themselves because they were offended. There are people that have called themselves because they are offended. Does he think he's the only one that is anointed? How can he be frustrating me? I stayed with him for 12 years. I've not climbed pulpit to preach more than 3 times. Does he think that is the only one that is offended? That is anointed? I beg. I know they go to that church again. I want to start my own. Word Alive Embassy International Church. Okay, that's the name of this one. The other one is Word Alive. He discovered that he does not have his own. So he has to coin somebody's name so that he can make his own calling. Are you hearing? My God. All right, let me establish this truth. That callings also can be to serve others. Joshua chapter 1 verse 1. Are you enjoying this Bible study? Now, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' minister. What's the meaning of minister? Somebody that serves. So he becomes Moses' servant. But in the original, he was not actually called to do his own ministry. He was called to do Moses' ministry. So when Moses' exit, that was when it was established to him to stand in the shoe of his father. So it was still Moses' ministry. What was Moses' ministry? To take the people to promised land. So Moses stopped all halfway. So he took the people to the promised land. It's not his ministry, it was Moses' ministry. So he was called to serve Moses' ministry. And he was fulfilled. Somebody asked Abioye. David Abioye. David Abioye, for some of you that don't know, he is the vice president of Winners Living Faith Worldwide. He's the vice president. While I don't know whether they've changed him, but he's the vice president. He's still there, okay, as the vice president. Praise God. Now, he has been serving David Oyedepo for over 30-something years. If not close to 40 years. If not 40 years. Because the ministry itself is 30-something, while himself with Oyedepo had been around for some time. So he is serving Oyedepo. He is pastoring one of their branch churches. And he's so anointed that if you hear him, you would think, many a times people listen to him and begin to perceive that it's Oyedepo that is talking. Many have even said he blesses them more than Oyedepo. I don't know of that anyway. And I don't intend to know. But one thing I'm sure, many came to him and were asking, when are you going to start your own ministry? He said, I've been doing it since. They said, no, start your own ministry. He said, I've started my own since. And they asked, what's the name? He said, the name is to serve Oyedepo. That is his ministry. To serve Oyedepo. So with all this, he said, no, his own is to serve Oyedepo. There's one bishop, Aremu. Many years ago, they came up and they said they want to reorganize the system, so all the bishops should go. He gave them, I don't know what they gave them, but I don't want to assume. So that was how they discharged some of them. I think Aremu was in Ghana then, or somewhere around, Abuja. So in Abuja. Aremu came back to headquarters and said he has nowhere to go. Bishop said, go and start your own. He said, no. He doesn't have anywhere to go. He doesn't have anything to start. What he started many years ago is what he still wants to continue doing. He said, look how blessed for you here. He said, you'll be member. Kept coming to church as a member. He came to church for about 2 years or something as a member. I'm not too sure of that story, but I think about 2 years or something. Are you hearing me? He has nothing. But this same man has done wonders. God has used him to do wonders. But he knew that he's under the umbrella of Oyedepo. So he has nothing to do. Say he has nothing to do. So he kept coming to church and kept living under the benevolence of people he has blessed in the same ministry. Until one day Papa told him no. He made him, I think, a pastor somewhere in Canaan land before they posted him out again, brought him back. I think he's in Canaan land now. He didn't go anywhere to start anything. You see, all these I want to start, all these I have a calling, all these I have. Check it well. I'm not saying there are no genuine calling. There are plenty. And there will still be. Even among some of you that are looking at me, you will soon be called. But when you are called, do the right thing. Do the right thing. I didn't come through the door and went through the window. I came through the door and I went through the gate. You know, the gate is bigger than the door. So I did something there, and when I was leaving, they opened gate for me. A 2-leveled gate. Are you with me? So if there is a calling, it must be of God. It must be of God. And there are callings that are not independent callings. They are callings to serve men. So find out whether the one they call you is an independent calling or is a calling to serve men. If it's a calling to serve men, wherever he lead you, stay there. That's where your glory will shine. Listen to me. Oyedepo has a private jet. Private jets. Do you know when Oyedepo had the first private jet, the second private jet was Abioye that has it? It's an assistant pastor. He has his own private jets too. Praise God. Oyedepo pastors one of the biggest congregations in the world with an auditorium of over 50,000. Is that not so? Abioye pastors one of also the biggest congregation in the world with an auditorium of over 25,000. Oyedepo hosts 5 services in that auditorium. Abioye hosts 4 services in that auditorium. Oyedepo has what we call Canaan land. Abioye has what we call Goshen City. All under serving the man of God. So everybody must not carry signboard. You see this signboard, the responsibility big. Some of us are left. We want to go back and go and see whether we can serve somebody. It's just that they rejected us. I remember in the year 2000, which is 20 years ago, I went to Victor Adeyemi, his junior brother to Sam Adeyemi. Some of you might know Victor Adeyemi of Revival. It's in Lagos. One of these days I'll bring him around to bless us. I went to him, I said, sir, I feel within me to serve you. He was so happy, he was so welcoming. He said, okay, we just started the Lagos church, so you would pastor the Lagos church, but first of all, go to Ibadan. Then he was in Ibadan. So that you go through the necessary training. So we finished talking that day, and the following day I was to meet him so that we can endorse the agreement of me working with the ministry. I had an encounter that night. At that time, I'd already served. I've been on itinerary work for a few years, about a year or two. And so I needed to probably walk with somebody. Maybe I didn't hear God well. After all that he had told me from the beginning, and what he had told me when I was leaving, I still didn't hear him well. I felt so. So I went. So I saw myself digging that night. I need to share this with you so that you know the background of the church you are coming to worship. So I saw myself digging. Some of you are aware of the story, but some are not, or many are not. I saw myself digging. I was digging. And I was hitting rocks while I was digging. I was hitting rocks while I was digging. I was hitting rocks while I was digging. But I continued digging. I refused to stop. And I heard a voice very loud. Keep digging. Keep digging. Keep digging your own well. Hear the sentence. Keep digging. Keep digging. Keep digging your own well. Very soon you will hit the waters, and the water shall break forth, and men shall come and drink of it. He spoke to me that night. The following day, I was to meet Victor. Thank God I didn't give him my phone number. So there was, did I even have a phone? 2000, there was phone, I think. 2000. That was phone. But I don't have one. I better. That was MTN now. 2000. That was MTN. 2000. When did phone come? No. 2000, that was phone. All right. Let's not go into confusion. It's all right. Okay. It's all right. Hey, don't do. Even if there was, I can't afford one. That time MTN is about 33,000 now. 33,000. I don't chop elefu. All right. So, thank God there was no contact. So I didn't go back the following morning. I didn't go back. Till today, I've not gone back. Till today, I've not gone back. And that was when I understood that where the track I was following was the right track. I should just keep doing it. It may not have produced result, but I should just keep doing it. Whatever I was doing, telling my pastor that God said to me, it's time for me to go and start. I was actually right, but I need to get full information. Then 2005, 21st of August, 2005, this church started in my parlor in Port Harcourt, not in Lagos now. So, 5 years down the line, so many information came to solidify where I was going. With right, direct words from him. Proper vision and understanding. Are you understanding me? So just because you have a calling does not mean you should start tomorrow. Hello? This thing they worry me, God call me. Hey, they allow me sleep. I need to start. The following day you are looking for venue. You will die. Because every oil needs training. And every oil needs to be squeezed. If they give you granite, will you believe that there is oil in granite? Squeeze it and see, oil will come out. So God packaged you as a full package. Until you are squeezed, nothing comes out of you. So in this study today, we established this fact that number one, calling is what? So if your call is according to the will of God, not man. So we'll discuss the next verse in the next service. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Did you get something?
I got something.
It's Bible study. Huh? Didn't you study Bible today? All right, stand to your feet. Okay, question or answer? This is Bible study.